Hey, we're in it. What's going on?
Right. What's going on? What's going on, Primo? How are you?
Doing all right, man. So hello to your Instagram page. Hello to my YouTube, to your YouTube. And we're going to keep growing the social medias that we get on for sure, right? So
Yeah,
it's a
definitely.
holiday today, too. We didn't even talk about that. It's a holiday today. So everybody's off to work.
Hmm.
Hopefully everybody enjoyed their family today. For sure, for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
Yeah, so as you guys come in, remember we like to do question and answer afterwards. So have your question and answer ready. Actually, you don't have to have your answer; just have your question ready, and then we'll get after it. The thing about today is, even though we're going to take questions, it doesn't have to be related to what it is that we're talking about. So, just because our topic is turning pain into purpose, I'm sure it's all relevant. Like it probably all works together, anyways, but it doesn't have to be the same kind of concept. So you can talk about or ask any questions that you want afterwards. Just have them ready. We'll do that. What, maybe like 30, 45 minutes. We'll get on some questions.
Yeah, I was thinking about the 45-minute mark. We'll start answering questions, but if you'd like, drop your questions off to the side now into what we're going to call the mailbag, and then we'll go to the mailbag and we'll get the questions from there. And then
I like
while
that.
we're answering the questions, you can feel free to drop more as well. But
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. I'm
Yeah, me too.
excited about it. Labor Day, let's put in the work.
Let's put in the work. Hey, so you know what's interesting today? I was coaching basketball. For those of you guys that know me a little bit, I coach basketball as well at a local college, women's basketball, and I had another team come in to observe us, and we actually accidentally were talking about this topic today. And
Really?
basically, yeah, because this is really everywhere, right? So whether we're talking about basketball, we're talking about relationships, um, whatever it is, work, like whatever the scenario is, this concept of being able to turn what's painful into purpose is long standing. And I think that for me, I think even in the scripture side of things, which we forgot to pray before we got on here, but we'll get it afterwards. Um, the scripture side of things really points to this concept a whole lot, which is that we need to be able to take the things that we don't even understand or that have harmed us and turn it into something that's useful, even before we understand how or what it's going to be useful for, and so I think one of the first things that we have to do is be able to acknowledge the pain that is there, but acknowledging the pain, like what does the pain look like in relationships and careers and personal life? What would you say if you're gonna just like what are you seeing pretty much whenever you say like pain happens in these ways in relationships? And I probably have a couple too. I'll throw it at you first though.
Well, I mean, even when in the body, pain is an indicator something's off,
Hmm.
something's not right.
Yeah.
And so it's even in the same in your relationship, in your mind, in your heart, in your body. If there's a pain there, then obviously that there's something not right. But is it that pain is there just to hurt us,
Hmm.
or is it there to try to tell us something?
Right.
Because there's a lot to be said in empowering questions. So if you take a situation and you look at it at face value and say, well, this devastating thing has happened. Now this has happened. Now my life is falling apart and it's just all unorganized chaos. Well, then so shall it be.
Right.
A lot of people say everything happens for a reason. Yes, true. But is that the reason that you give it, though?
Hmm.
Because the reason that you give it may have a lot to do with what you do with it.
Right.
Because if you believe that this is all happening just because you deserve it or because this is how life is, because life isn't fair, well, then there it is there. But if you ask yourself, why, if all of this is happening to grow me in some way, if I'm supposed to learn from this, if I'm supposed to evolve in some way, if I'm supposed to fix something, change something, what is it? What is if this is all designed to benefit me? Hmm?
Yeah.
If this is all designed to benefit me, what benefit is there? And yeah, in a lot of situations, it may not be so easy to find a benefit. Like, whoa, what could be the benefit in this? That's just it. When it
Mhm.
comes to purpose, you go through that pain. And through all of that pain, depending on how you go through it, you just may find your purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's true. And I think the first step to that is us being able to really acknowledge that there is a pain there. And unfortunately, I think in a lot of situations, people aren't able to acknowledge what the pain is. They might feel that things are off, but a lot of times they can't acknowledge what it actually is. And I've had people say, I'm not ready to really talk about that. I'm not really ready to say that. And I
Mhm.
know in my own life, like, um, so the thing I grew up with is watching divorces. I got a divorce on my own, of my own. And the situation that's true for me is that I wouldn't acknowledge that none of any of that was pain, not on purpose. I just didn't know, right? And so us being able to acknowledge it is probably the first step to us being able to really be able to turn and make a difference. Um, but you got to be able to recognize it first. And the more that you can have conversations, and I think that's why what we're doing is useful today, is just being able to say, like, hey, spot what it is first so that you can start moving in a different kind of direction, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So then,
Yeah, go ahead.
how does one go about spotting that?
Hmm.
Because that's such a big thing too with people who aren't really used to communicating about their feelings. It's pinpointing that isn't so easy for them because you ask them, well, how do you feel? And there's like, I just feel bad. Well,
Yeah.
what does bad feel like? And there's it's bad. Right. And so they themselves lack that self-awareness,
Yeah.
which is okay, right? But how do they go about further finding that and being able to locate that and let alone communicate that?
Right. I mean, by accident, a lot of times we do unhealthy things to kind of cope with our pain. So it really looks like we're masking the idea that there is something. And so we have to want more, I think, as people is probably the starting spot. And there's
Yeah.
something that I tell everybody, which is, um, no matter what, please just search for truth. Right. At the end of the day, I don't, like, I'm not the person to tell you what it should be or shouldn't be, you know. But what I do know is that as people, like, we really need to be searching for truth, not what's comfortable to us, but just like what's really true. And if we can pursue that truth aspect, you're gonna find the pain pieces. Because now you're asking the questions that need to be asked. You mentioned that earlier. You're asking the questions that need to be asked. But you don't get there by masking them constantly. And masking constantly, again, we remember last week we were talking about avoidance, so it's part of that, right? Masking it constantly means that we're doing things that anesthetize whatever is has gone on already. And I mean, for so many of us, we just live a life like that. So our challenge is to be seeking more, less um, of let me push away things or let me just do what feels good, and more of can I pursue what's true and keep searching for that, right? And
Yeah.
so as you do that, you find out what's true for your body. What's true for my body? Well, I need to hydrate more, right? That's a simple one. I need to be eating the right kinds of foods. Oh, that food doesn't go with my blood type. I need to be spiritually. What are the things I need to be searching for? Like truth, you have to keep looking for what's really true for you, not just what feels good, right? It feels good for me to be around a lot of people. Yeah, but I'm not pursuing this area of my life the way I want to. Why, right? And the more that I can ask those questions and pursue that, I'm gonna change my positioning and being able to acknowledge what's painful for me. Okay, so I think that's going to be a big deal. How do people start processing the pain? Because I think that would be the second step to us being able to really turn our pain into a purpose. Um, and I have a question here which says, "What role does reflection play in making sense of painful experiences?" And me and you might have two different answers about this, but I'll let you go first, and then I'll come in second. And by the way, you guys, if we ever, me and Fit, ever have two different answers that don't mesh necessarily initially, they mesh at some point. Number one, and then number two is you can pick one, because if there's two things that don't match, something is for somebody and something is for somebody else, depending on where they're at in life. All right. So yeah, let's ask that question and um, let's see what you would say about it. I'll ask it again. What role does reflection play in making sense of painful experiences?
Yeah. So reflection is everything. You can go to all the therapy sessions and coaching sessions and read all of the books and do all of these things. But if you don't reflect,
Mm-hmm.
then you don't connect the dots,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so connecting the dots is what I like to say, and going back and piecing everything together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this happened. And it led to what? It led me to feeling what? It led me to thinking what? And investigate that
Yeah.
and peel that layer. Why do you think that? Like you're sitting there reflecting to yourself. And why do I think that? And what led me to think that? So you're sitting there just questioning yourself and questioning yourself because for a lot of people who want to learn to be honest, you got to be honest with yourself first.
Right.
And so when you sit back and you no holds barred, really take that inventory on yourself to reflect. And yeah, that's tough love right there, where you're just done with it. You're in a place where you're just had enough and you're ready to let go of everything and you're ready to be honest with yourself
Right.
and you can reflect. And a lot of the times, too, when you're in a habit of reflecting and you're trying, I'll encourage you.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the effect from your reflections doesn't take place right at that moment. You could be reflecting and then nothing comes, and then later on you're right there washing some dishes or cooking or whatever you're doing, and you're, oh my gosh, that is why. I'll tell you a quick one. I had a reflection because I struggled with overeating, stress eating. For a
Mm-hmm.
long time, my weight kept on going up and down. I had a hypnotherapist help me with that, right? And we were going through of why of the eating and where it caused. And I knew that I was bullied as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
right, for being overweight, right? So I knew that was there, right? But there was more to it. Like we kept on digging, right? And I was in the Albert Einstein, the best ideas come to me in the shower. I was in the shower and all of a sudden the water didn't hit me. Something hit me. I go, oh my gosh, I had an image pop up of me when I was a child and my father was home sitting on the couch eating dinner. And my dad, my dad, he jokes a lot. I was a kid, oh, dad, joking with my dad a lot and laughing at my jokes. Well, I went to him to joke with him and he didn't really laugh at my joke. And I looked at him and he looked sad and he looked like worried or stressed. He didn't look like he felt good. And as a kid, I don't know, okay, all right. But I reflected back and I go, okay, I put myself back at my age when I was that age, and I said, what did I feel? What was the thought, the belief that was created at that moment? And I go, oh, whenever you're sad, whenever you're worried, eat. You just need to eat and you'll feel better.
Mm.
And so, having those realizations upon the reflection and go, oh, so then that moment led to that idea that led to this pattern that's leading to this now.
Mm.
And then it's going back and reverse engineering, going back to where it all started and starting there. It's like I say, there's a weed in the ground. And what do we do? The weed in the ground, above the ground is all the insecurities and the bad habits, and this is all the trauma that was created, right? And so what do? We come up with these coping mechanisms to mask it, right? To just deal with it right there. It's just enough so we can live life. But then what happens when we cut a weed? We mow it at the surface.
It grows right back.
It grows back, and so it's a matter of locating the root with enough investigation, enough connecting the dots to
Right.
rip it out.
Yeah. We got to rototill the soil. Right. Yeah, I love that, and that's a big time share. And I would take the reflection concept in a different area, uh, but I don't disagree with you. So I think that it is necessary, kind of like, and I loved how you used your example because it shows when reflection is purposeful and how. So many times people reflect and stay stuck on their reflection, and point to their pain as the whys, but don't necessarily do the processing, the pain that's needed. So you have to be really careful about reflecting, you guys, as you go to try to deal with pain and get it to actually move into your purpose. If you could point to all the things that have gone on in your life and you start to recall them, and that starts creating your current reality, then you're going to be in a bad spot. But if you can go back to the things just like Fit did and be able to point to what happened and be able to process it through recognizing what's going on and how those patterns connect with what you're doing now, you can understand how embedded it is, and then be able to, there's a lot of different ways to process it. There's empty chairs, there are letters, there are visualizations. All those things are useful to repairing the younger versions of ourselves. So that's a real thing. But you have to be careful about your reflection, because sometimes, and matter of fact, I wouldn't even say sometimes, I would say a lot of times, when we don't have the tools or the ability to do it, we just go back and we start pointing fingers, and that creates more of what we are actually facing now, right? So a lot of times you're not ready to do the reflection. A lot of times you're not in a place until you get around somebody who has been through it or can give you the tools to take you there, and then to be able to bring you back to here and why it's useful, or how it's going to be useful to be able to let go, right? A reflection that I do, a reflection piece, I call it a visualization, that I do, is we go back to our younger self, and we're able to sit next to them whenever they're facing the hard emotion, right? It's one of my favorite personally to do. Sit next to them while they're doing the having the experience of the emotion, without trying to change it, but just letting them know that they're not alone, right? That kind of experience helps to strengthen or repair the sense of being disconnected or alone or weak in a moment, because you're able to go next to that person and you watch that person kind of grow. And that's the younger version of you. So in that aspect, reflection is useful. In the aspect that you go back and it's in your mind and you're thinking about, oh, what was all the things that happened to me, right? That part wouldn't be useful. So I want to caution you guys, as you're going to process pain, is to you rewind the tapes, go back and listen to what Fitz said, and see how he was able to tie it in, and he didn't allow it to drag him down. Instead, he allowed himself to strengthen what was going on. So how do
Yeah,
you
and
avoid
that's
letting pain turn into bitterness or resentment? And I think that's a huge question that we just answered right now. The biggest way to not allow it to turn into bitterness or resentment is for us to be able to actually um, not try to stay in it or find blame, but instead for us to be looking for purpose, to look
mhm.
for understanding or connecting the dots. I like how you said that, to be able to connect dots so that we can move forward. We're repairing muscles in that moment. Part of the rototilling, like how you were talking about that weed, the rototilling of the dirt that happens a lot of times is going in there and turning it again to make sure that it is ready to be reseeded, right? And sometimes it can't be reseeded because we have all the other fluff in there that we haven't necessarily processed out. Okay, so that to me will help us to, if you're focused on trying to find blame, then you're going to create bitterness and resentment. But if you're focused on trying to grow, that's what I heard you say, Fit. Then it's going to create the kind of purpose that you really need to move on.
Mhm.
Do you want to add something to
And
that?
well, there's something to be said with resentment towards yourself too,
Mm-hmm.
because upon those reflections, you might come to the conclusion that, well, I'm just not efficient enough. I'm just inadequate.
Yeah.
I'm just not capable of that. That's just not me, and I'll never just be that. So, well, I guess that's the kind of person I am. I'm just whatever. Fill in the blank with whatever choice name you want to call yourself and beat yourself up with. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what resentment does to you. And you beat yourself up and you put yourself down and you gather up everyone else's opinion of you and you cook it up into a little cocktail of self identity
Right.
and you go believing that and you create this story, and of course it's going to disempower you, and you're going to end up hating yourself, and that's not going to get you anywhere.
Right.
When the best way to combat the resentment is through forgiveness and really truly loving yourself. That's why I love the sitting next to you, little you, and
Hmm.
having a conversation with you. Because a lot of the times we don't look within and see how we're really talking to ourselves, how we're
Right.
really treating ourselves. I get emotional kind of talking about this stuff here, but because I've lived that, and it's, that's how you start to ponder thoughts of the
Yep.
darkness,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And it's it's just yeah, I'll just put it like that. It's a very big thing. Love
Yep.
yourself, forgive yourself. Yes, you may have made a lot of mistakes and you've done all of these things, but are you going to let that define you? You don't have to let that define you. You can, in that moment, go, you know what? I did all of those things. And if I made my life this bad and I did it all on my own, then
Hmm.
that means I can make my life this good.
Right.
I did it one way. Why can't I do it the other way? And
Hmm.
saying, you know what, I'm done with that. Yeah, I did all these things, and yeah, I've been this way, but I'm not going to be that way anymore. And that's when that person has that moment of clarity in their life where they're really fully ready to let go. And
Yep.
that's powerful, because letting go of resentment, we think that we carry around this resentment like it's a shield, like if it helps us. We carry around this resentment like if it's good for our lives, like if it's going to enrich our lives in some way, when
Yep.
it doesn't.
Yep.
And a lot of the times we go, well, this person did this to me, that person did that to me, and they never said they're sorry, so why should I forgive them? You don't should anything. You don't have to do anything.
Right.
But I will say this, if you're waiting for someone to earn your forgiveness to forgive them, in the event that they don't, you're going to walk around with that resentment.
Yeah. You got to
And that
carry and tow
resentment,
that weight around everywhere you go. Right.
right?
Hmm.
Exactly that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that, and we kind of answered some of the other questions about like what are the healthy habits, but maybe we could do a rapid fire real quick on a habit that you do. So I'll go one to start. A habit that you do to help process the pain. For me, is scripture, and being able to pray. I'll put those two together. You want to give one?
And it's processing pain like in a
What,
moment, or in
what,
like
no, just
past.
in general, what healthy habits or practices help you in processing some of your pain?
You know what, have a conversation with yourself.
Okay.
Turn off your phone, get away from everybody, and just sit there and close your eyes and say, hey, how are you really feeling? Like,
Hmm.
what happened today? Talk to
Yeah.
me, let me know what's going on.
Yeah. Okay.
It's and that's developing a relationship with yourself.
Hmm.
And so many times we take advantage of the relationship that we have with ourselves because we're with ourselves all of the time.
Yep. Yep.
That's like the difference between time and quality time. Are you having quality time with yourself
Right.
to raise the level of self-awareness? I'll tell you this. I remember I was going through a level up, because you know what, when you change it happens in stages.
Yeah,
Right?
for sure.
So I went to this, I remember I was going to the next stage of developing a relationship with myself, and I laid there, I closed my eyes, and I just started saying my name. I started saying, Michael, Michael, are you there? Hello, Michael. And then finally I answered myself, and I know this may sound like mental here, right? So what, here the answer, what was that, right?
Yeah.
But this is the joy of it. Nobody does this.
Hmm.
Nobody has that type of a relationship with themselves as to where they can reflect, because whether you like it or not, you talk to yourself all day anyways.
Yep. Self talk is so
But
common.
are you in
Yep.
control of those conversations?
Yep.
And so you go in there, and I remember when I closed my eyes and I finally answered myself, and I answered myself with this voice of like pure love, unconditional love and forgiveness. It was like I answered myself, I'm like, hey, How have you been? Kind of like teasing myself to suggest that, well, it's finally nice to meet you, right?
Right, right.
And then, Primo, I swear, just tears started coming down my face
Oh, wow.
when I heard me for the. It's like I truly met me for the first time.
Mm.
Stuff like that, like
Yeah.
connecting with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it. I love it. And I would say adding to that and probably goes with it to really hear yourself is journaling. So that's one I think is a big deal is being able to. I wish that I journaled more than I do right now. I'm probably at like once a week, twice a week right now. Um, but I know that journaling is an excellent pain process. Anytime I have gone back and looked at my journal, all the things that I write about, I seem to overcome. And so I was it's crazy how you could just look back and you could see like and still I there's times where I'm like, man, I wish I would journal more. Right. Do you have another one?
Um, for again, it's
Yeah, so
processing the pain.
yeah, any healthy habits that you have or practices that help you process pain?
Definitely, it's in a situation. I'll say this one for like a relationship.
Hmm.
It's being able to express it, to being able to get help processing it is
Hmm.
another thing you can do.
Okay.
That I am so like if I feel a certain way with something that happened with my fiance, say, hey, when that happened, it made me feel like this,
Hmm.
and I know that you were doing that, and then this happened, so it made it look like that, and I know that's not the case, and so I just felt this way. I had this feeling right here, like I'm just describing life. I just had this feeling, and it just like I felt tight, and I didn't want to feel that way. And then it caused me to start thinking, this was going on with you. And then I started thinking that. And then I don't know. This is how I felt. And I just wanted to let you know exactly what was going on in here and just work through it together.
I love that expression,
But
right?
so many times we're afraid to let somebody in to help
Uh,
us process.
yeah.
And so I think that that's what can be maybe a tool to get there is first allowing yourself the help to be vulnerable enough to let someone explore your feelings with you to help you
Mhm.
process them.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, that's a big deal, and honestly, like that's a upside to relationships that go well is you're able to build that kind of
Mm,
trust, and you have that person already at home with you, where you can say what it is that you're experiencing without having to worry about what's going to happen later, right? So, and you can say this is what's going on, and you get a chance to work it out loud, because when you have to work something out loud, it might not come out right, and so for you to have that built in your relationship, it's a huge deal. So after we process pain, I feel like the next step for us would be to really try to live with purpose. So we take that pain that we had, acknowledge it, and then after that, we start processing it. We went over some ways to be able to process it, and then also some things that like we thought, as far as reflection, would be helpful. But then when it comes time to living with purpose, how can pain become fuel for discovering what's our greater purpose? And I'll talk about this first. Um, I think that a lot of times the things that happen in a challenging way in our life are things that kind of like suffocate us or make us go the opposite way of wanting to do more in life. And by design, we're actually made to use all those hard things and get familiar with a certain situation and then be able to serve each other with that situation. I really firmly believe that. And I started talking about it earlier, but I watched divorces growing up, right? And then went through one on my own uh, and then have got to a point where I now understand why, how, and what's going on, and am able to successfully help people to have a different relationship when they're ready, right? And how does that happen? Well, it only happens because um, we allow our pain and the experiences that we have uh, to be something that isn't something that just takes care of us by suffocating us, but instead is something that is like, man, I need to use these tools and whatever I'm learning from this situation to be able to help other people. And I think that that drive in your mind is like, man, your problems really aren't about you. Your problems are going to build you for other people. So many of us don't realize the connection that we have in this world to each other. And so whenever something goes difficult for us, we think, man, like it's me, 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 me. And that's the part that actually keeps us away from living in our purpose is we're so worried about the hurt and the hardship that we're having that we stop doing the thing that would allow us to live in our purpose, which is, man, it's not going right for me. I got to help it go right for somebody else. Not in the idea of avoidance, but to take my pain and be able to say, look, I know this happened to me. And so I have the ability to be there for other people in the same kind of way. Right. And it doesn't always have to be pain, but a lot of the things that we go through a lot of times um, are useful to other people. And so it's up to us to be able to sharpen ourselves over that. And so I think that's one way for me, for sure, that I think we can turn whatever we've experienced in our life into fuel to be able to help other people. Any thoughts about that?
The what did the pain give you, and how can you use that to your advantage, to a advantage? How
Mhm.
can you take what was wrong and use it to make what is right, to become what is right?
Yeah.
And perhaps not using pain, but making peace with it so it frees you up to move forward.
Yeah.
It's like I say, it's we're trying to go through life. We're trying to move into a direction with life. And it is like we are shackled to this big, gigantic boulder and we're just dragging it along, thinking that, you know, we're getting somewhere and we are and working hard to get there, but it is in cutting off those shackles to free us up to really truly be right and to truly be free to operate minus what we've been carrying with us.
Right.
And so when we're able to make peace with something, it's not like a continuing issue that just I'm trying to move forward, but I resolve this. I still haven't made peace with this. And so we do all of these other things to make peace with this, but maybe it's or to not make peace with this, but avoid this, mask this, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe turning around and instead of doing all these other things, to just manage the pain, then finding the peace with it. And during that process of finding the peace with it, you may just find what motivates you or inspires you or pushes you or really what that was all supposed to give you. And then before you know it, it changes you as a person, and then all of the people around you
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
to change too. It
Yeah.
doesn't they're always going they're all everybody's just going to start changing or anything. But you notice the way that they show up in your life is different when the
Mhm.
way you show up in your life is different. Way the way you show up in here and in here is different. Then the people around you will show up different in your life just by default.
Yeah. It's true. It's very true. Yeah, I remember reading. I can't remember the book right now, but I think it was Covey, and he said like the more you're able to control yourself, the more influence you have, and I think that's really important because as we start living in our purpose, that is us being in control. Instead of letting our pain control us, it's us being in control of what goes on inside of here. So we can experience anything on the outside. Um, because we don't have control over the outside. So hardship is coming, hardship has happened, but what we do with it on the inside is totally up to us. And I think that that's how we create a scenario where we're actually living in our purpose is we understand that the outside cannot be the leader of what goes on the inside, no matter what the outcome is. And that's hard. It's a hard thing to do. You know, in order for us to stay on track like that, you have to use, like you were talking about earlier, Fit, you have to really use that self conversation and self talk and um, be intentional about the conversations that you're having with yourself.
Mm.
Because as you're speaking different things and thinking different things, like you're building something. And if you realize that, like, man, everything that I do is planting a seed for some other experience that I'm going to have. If you could just think that way, some of the thoughts in the words that we say, we just wouldn't say them. So it's up to us to really be intentional about what's going on, and we can't let our past or our previous pains be the predictor of whatever it is that we're going to do and experience next. And so if we're going to grow in our purpose and experience something else, and live with purpose, it's going to take us being really intentional with that conversation that we're having with ourselves, with us being able to process our pain, with us being able to seek what's true. It That's going to be the takeover for us if we're going to live with purpose. Before we get into questions, um, I think, kind of a wrap up, or kind of like the takeaway concept is that um, our pains do happen in seasons, and so the whatever is hurtful, whatever is painful, it's not going to last forever. It's not going to last forever. So you're going to have to be ready to live life without pain. And I know that a lot of us, like, we'd rather just go back to the pain, or maybe you're not going to vocally say that, but sometimes that's what you know, and it's way bigger, and so you end up just going back into the pain again, or you create scenarios where it's painful again. But pain happens in seasons just like goodness does. And so expect for us to use the pain season to be able to build us. And then when the other season comes around, harvest time, get what you need, right? And I think that that's really important for us to have that in our mind, is like, it's not going to always be time to water the plants. It's not going to be always be time to be rototilling the soil. At some rate, it's going to come around. It's going to be time to harvest, and we have to be ready for those seasons. And so, the biggest picture that I can give you guys of turning pain into purpose is being willing to go through the seasons of life and understand that the fruit's coming. It's just a matter of you doing the work through all the processes to be able to actually accept the fruit that comes, and or create the fruit that comes. What other thoughts do you have about that?
Oh, I love that, man. I was listening. That was it. I was just listening. But it's like, think about it like this. Every time you say something, every time you do something, you're planting a seed.
Mm-hmm.
And the fruit from that seed will grow one day.
Right.
But what kind of fruit? Will it be a spoiled fruit? Because
Yep.
what kind of seed are you planting? So I think the takeaway, a big takeaway of what you were saying is that I'm getting right now, which is so powerful, is be very intentional with the seeds that you are planting, knowing that they will come to fruition,
Yep.
but will it be a rotten fruit that grows from the rotten seed that you've planted, or will be a plentiful fruit from the healthy, loving seed
Yeah.
that you've planted, right?
Right.
So I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. And I know you guys, like, I know everybody watching, it's not that you're walking around trying to plant bad seeds. It's just the pain gets so much that it causes you to keep stumbling into those kinds of thoughts. So you've watched that, you've lived that, you experienced that, and all you can think about is that, instead of realizing, hey, this is going to end. And so we've given you some tools today to hopefully help you to rototill that soil, plant the right seeds, and grow the right thing, experience the right fruit. um,
Yeah.
so I think that's huge. Do we have any questions? Is anybody asking questions yet, Fit?
I don't see any questions yet, but you
Or
guys
we
go ahead and feel free to start dropping the questions below. They can be about the topic that we've been discussing. They can be, well, we've been discussing quite a bit, but whatever question you have that you would love to ask, we would love to answer it. So just, drop it below if you have something specific for Mr. Thomas here. Maybe you could put a T. Maybe if it's something for me, you could put an M, or it's just a general question, just ask it. But either way, I think we're both going to answer the question anyway. But
Yeah, we're gonna get you
yeah,
anyways. Yeah, both of us gonna put it for whoever you want to. We both gonna get it.
and that's why we're doing this, is so
Yeah,
they can get two different angles, two different perspectives, and there's just more insight for them, and that's why we're doing what we're doing for you guys, so that you guys have more resources and you guys just can grow more and get what you want, and
yeah,
figure these things out, because man, each one teach one, no one grow one. I mean, we're all here to help each other, right?
absolutely, absolutely.
But it's exciting too, because I don't want to give away too much, but you and I are creating some. We're in the works. Just if you're watching, just know this man and I, we are working on some very powerful things for you guys coming up. And
Yeah,
so be on the lookout for it. We're very excited. Our techniques and minds combined makes for some good stuff. You guys
yeah,
drop your questions on in, or at least let me know where you guys are coming in from. All right. I don't know where you guys are. I'm in Nevada over here. All right. I just fresh from the Philippines, born and raised in California. Let me know where you guys are coming in from, or at least just come with these questions, because we are ready to answer. We'll be here for about another 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, I believe.
yeah.
So drop them in when you're ready. Or we're just going to start again telling dad jokes. All right, I'll tell a dad joke right here if you guys don't start asking those questions. I mean, here's what it is here. We're talking about truth, right? The more questions you ask, you would think will lead you to the truth, but it is in what kind of questions you ask. Asking the right questions to get the right answers, you know?
Yeah,
And so facing those truths, going on this journey of really discovering yourself so you can really understand yourself. Because here's what I'll tell you about awareness: the more aware you are of yourself, the more you understand yourself. The more aware you are of yourself, the more aware you are of others. The more you understand others, the more you understand yourself, the more you can understand your partner, the more you can understand understandings, right? More understanding you can be,
yeah.
right?
Starts leaning.
And so, still no questions over here on my end.
Well, I
If
have a
there's no
question.
questions,
I have a
okay, yes,
question.
sir.
So, if you could, if you could give all the people that you care about in your life, whether it's clients, family members, a superpower, what's the superpower that you would give them?
The ability to give themselves whatever superpower they want.
You would give them that whatever they need. What if they
Their
didn't know though? Like,
superpower.
because the issue with that is I feel like then people don't know, and so they give themselves the wrong superpower. But you know what
Mm,
it is that they need. Which what would it be that you would give them?
I would give them the superpower to realize that they themselves are the superpower.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
there's no believing that I need this and I need that to
Right.
be powerful. It
Right.
is in just and call that kind of like a, maybe, what is it, a soft superpower or something like that, right? Like
Yeah.
flying.
Yeah.
But that in itself is super powerful, to be full of power. But instead we think that we need this and that so that we can that will give us that power. But when we realize that we don't need those things to be powerful, or to feel powerful, or to feel that level of energy, positivity, that right, that state, we don't need those things. It's all within. And the problem is we search all out here all day, every day, for the answers, when the
Yeah.
answers are here. Yes, there are things out here that can lead us to the answers, that give us more information, that connect the dots and these kinds of things. But in the end, the answer is within.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. Yeah. I like that. Okay.
Okay. And so I see that um, therapy with Griselda and Thomas says, is Is there pain that cannot be turned into purpose? Ooh,
That's my beautiful wife, and she, of course,
pain
she
that
will come up with good questions. What was the question?
is there pain that cannot be turned into purpose?
You want to go first on that because I do have an answer.
Um, so how can you, what is it?
Is
Is
there a
there
pain
pain
not be
that
turned?
cannot be turned into purpose? And so, off the top, right, I'd love to reflect on this one more, but off the top, it's like the pain that you continue to put on yourself, the pain that you continue to beat yourself up with, the pain that you continue to allow in your life, the pain that you may not voluntarily put into your life, or be trying to put into your life, but it is recognizing that when that pain is not serving you, when that pain is a pain of hatred, it's a pain of revenge, right? It's the pain of hate, right? And so I would say that focusing on that pain and staying in that pain, and yeah, and it's not easy. I get it. It's not easy. Sometimes it's not, but it is in not giving up,
Okay.
not giving up and finding it. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, and so I mean, I got the luck of being able to go after you and answer this, but I would say there's not a pain that can't be turned into purpose. There are methods that you will do to deal with the pain that will cause you not to be able to turn things into purpose. So all pains are purposeful. And if I was to go to scripture, that was actually part of my Bible study today that said that God means everything for good for his people, right? And so, what that says to us is that there isn't a pain that can't be turned into purpose. Now, what we do with that pain can relieve us from or move us away from the purpose scenarios. And that's, I kind of heard that whenever you were saying that, Fit, is that basically what we do with it is, if we're pushing it away or if we're using it to develop resentment, all those things will take us into a different direction and won't allow us to find our purpose, right? And so, yeah, um, I believe, from my understanding, that pain is not, pain cannot not be purposeful. All pain is purposeful in your life. It can help you to get to your purpose. Um, but if you misuse it or if you're not dealing with it the right ways, I think that you'll go off in the wrong path.
Mm.
And again, that concept for me is a scriptural understanding, right? Where again, it just so happens that that was in my Bible study this morning, where it said that, like, um, God meant it for good. There's actually a story about Joseph, who he sees his brothers after they put him through everything. He went through a lot of stuff, and they're like, "Man, we're sorry, brother." He's like, "You're all right. You meant it for bad, but God meant it for good." And he went through a lot of
Mm.
stuff, right? And so, it's really difficult, I think, in hard times to not to be able to say that. And I've worked with some hard situations, things that, like, are super difficult. And so being able to connect the idea that, like, man, you can actually turn your pain into purpose in that scenario. The truth is, I believe that you can still do that.
Yeah. Let's see here. Let's keep up. I see. Oh, RE10 says, thank you for helping too many. I appreciate that. We appreciate you for coming on, and we appreciate everybody on in here. If you like the live, show some love. You already know, hit that tap
Yeah,
button,
don't
show
forget
some
to do those
support here.
things.
We,
Don't forget to do those
yeah,
things, those likey things and the thumb up things, yeah, and the subscribe things. Make sure you get on the next one. Share it with your friends. That's right. Share it with your friends. Don't forget about that. Like, when you see our post that the show is coming up, you may not benefit from it. And I think this is really important. You may not feel like that show topic is for you, but I promise you, you have somebody in your life who needs it. And that's what we're trying to do is just be able to love on people while we're in here, before we hit the sack, right? We want to make sure that we get in here and share what we need to. So yeah, do those likey things, those subscribey things, all them things. Share with your friends.
I have Soggy Cat Face says, "Your advice keeps me grounded." That's perfect. That's
Mhm.
what it is. We're here to keep you grounded or help you ground yourself. Soggy Cat Face, just know that on a personal level, I'm very proud of you. I'm so freaking proud of you. You have no idea. All right. Got my fiance coming in here, says 100% agree. Babe, I'll embarrass you, babe, but can you marry me already? Like, seriously? Like, can you
Whose
just
fault
like
is
be my wife and
Hey, whose fault is
it's
that?
I'm gonna just keep asking you every day. You already said yes, but I mean, like,
Let's
can we
make it
just
happen.
finally like what's up?
Yeah, you said let's make it happen already, right?
Then we have real uh no Frenchie Furl Frenchie says yes, he does. All right. So we appreciate that. I appreciate all of you so very much. And yeah, just let us know how we can help, what you need from us. Whatever it is, just we're here. We got you. And we're going to be doing this every week, every Monday evening. We're going to be coming in. We might switch up the time. We might experiment with the days and times to see what works best, who's coming in. And that may reflect on how many comments and questions we get in the live. So you like us at this time, then engage. Get in the comment section because that is going to be part of how we decide, right? Of
Yeah,
what time slot works best is who's coming in, who's benefiting the most, or well, I mean, I think everybody's going to benefit, but what seems like the most people are coming in and the
yeah,
most people are engaging. What do you think?
yeah. As we figure that out together, we just want to be able to serve people. What works for our families and what works for everybody else at the same time. We want to try to do that. So
Yeah, because
we'll figure
we're
it
on
out.
Pacific, and for us it's only 8 p.m., but for people in New York it's 11 p.m.
Think about
And
that.
so yeah, so we may want to switch it up for our you know family on the East Coast, right,
Yeah,
and other parts of the
yeah,
world. But
that's
that
true.
looks like we're yeah, that looks like it's it for today. I don't
Okay,
see any questions coming in, so
cool deal.
I guess we'll take it away,
Uh,
Mr.
yeah,
Castro. We
I
have to end it
appreciate
off
you
with.
guys. Yeah, I appreciate you guys coming in. For everybody who's watching on the replay, totally cool. If you guys have any questions, please send those in. We're going to be starting a mailbag. Probably, not probably. Let's make it official. We'll start a mailbag and we'll get questions, at least one or two that we can answer on our live for next week. All right, you guys. So make sure we're turning that pain into purpose. If you need to know how to rewind the tapes or send us a question, we'll talk to you guys later. Have a good night.
Bye, you guys.